Thank you very much, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, for your incisive interventions on these critical issues raised in taxation. Tax administration in Nigeria is also at a very critical stage in our country. And I would like to know, what is your assessment on Nigeria's compliance and its index? What is your assessment in this regard?
In terms of compliance, Nigeria is not doing well at all. In fact, we're performing worse than war-torn countries like Afghanistan, like even Iraq, as well as talking about even countries like even Syria is having almost 11% as to GDP ratio. Nigeria has 6. So our compliance rate is one of the lowest in the world. According to the Joint Tax Board, there are about 10 million people, individuals, registered with all the tax authorities in Nigeria. Our population is 180 million. If you look at the National Bureau of Statistics, we have 77 million working population. So you imagine 77 million and only 10 million are registered for tax. Out of that, 4.5 million are in Lagos. So all the other states have only 5.5 million. How come people are not, this is not even asking them to pay tax, to even register first, they are not registered. You look at value-added tax, according to the Finance Minister and the Federal Revenue Service, compliance rate is 12%, which means you have 88% of businesses that are supposed to be registered for and charging VAT are not even registered. Now, this means that overall, our tax compliance rate is very low. It's very low, and therefore, the revenue we generate from tax is not enough to provide development. There was a recent IMF report that says that all over the world, when your tax to GDP ratio gets to about 15% or more, the development will accelerate. So the reason why Nigerians have to pay tax and to hold government accountable to use the tax money for the benefit of the people, it's not just about raising money, it's also because we need that for our economic development, which is what would provide the quality of life, will provide employment, will provide social welfare that people are craving for in Nigeria. The way forward is, first we need to start from the very top. So the tone from the top has to be on point. So people who want to be political leaders, the president, the vice president, governors, deputy governors, lawmakers, ministers, commissioners, must start by paying the right amount of tax and paying it on time. So we heard about this state, I think it was Abia State, where they said someone did not declare the amount of tax correctly, did not pay on time, and all of that. But when I look at it, I was like, well, this is more political than tax itself. Under normal circumstances, not paying your taxes on time and correctly is more than enough to disqualify you from holding a public office. Many of the politicians, when they want to do their screening to contest, is when they go and pay tax, and they just pay as little as 50,000. Just get a document that has tax clearance certificate on top of it, even though the car you drove there is a bulletproof car worth 50 million naira. You just paid 50,000 and you're cleared. You then get into a position of authority to oversee taxpayers' money, even though you yourself haven't been paying taxes. It's not difficult to understand why we are where we are, because most of our leaders are themselves not compliant with tax matters, and therefore they're not paying attention to it. There's also the issue around policy. Policy has to be clear. And then lawmaking. All the tax laws we have are out of date. They're not fit for purpose. We have the Stamp Duty Act that was creating a lot of issues beginning of this year because CBN said banks should start collecting stamp duty. Do you know that law was a law of 1939? We have lawmakers, House of Rep, Senate, and most times we're debating things that are they're not useful. When there are tax laws, we should be reviewing. So we have the value-added tax that was a decree of 1993. The world has evolved today. At the time that we enacted our VAT law, e-commerce was not an issue in the world. In fact, internet was just gaining ground. But today, the volume and the value of commerce on the internet is unbelievable. Our tax law is unable to address that. And we have lawmakers who don't think that it's a priority to look at those laws. You don't even have to be the one inventing it. A lot of countries have done it. Review what is being done elsewhere and localize it. So lawmaking is also a key issue. And finally, is tax administration. The tax administration in Nigeria needs a lot of reform. In terms of capacity building, you find many of the state tax authorities and even FRS now are using consultants. There's no leading tax authority around the world that is using consultants to do tax audits. You build your own internal capacity. You can call on consultants to help you with training, with strategy, with KPI, with measurement, assessment, but not to be doing tax audit. It's not right. And you also have the use of technology is lacking. For many of them, just to process your tax clearance certificate, it's rocket science. You travel up and down and talk to tax officers and be in traffic for months just to get receipt that you've paid tax. Whereas in countries like Estonia, you can file your returns and get tax clearance certificates in less than 5 minutes because they're using technology for it. So we have the opportunity to leapfrog in Nigeria by learning from other countries, by letting go of things that really held us back in Nigeria, including loopholes in the law, archaic provisions, ambiguous provisions, and to be able to reform our tax system to be fit for purpose such that it does not wag the business dog. It's a tail that should not wag the business dog. We should allow people to do their businesses legitimately, make money, but also demand that they pay tax. And in the process of paying tax, it should not be too complicated as it is at the moment.